Welcome to Side Flash.
Side Flash.
Side Flash.
Side Flash.
Side Flash.
Welcome to Side Flash.
Welcome Side Flash. Welcome sideflash.org.
Tell you what, a person who believes that this wasn't set up by our own government is an idiot.
Assalamu alaikum.
It's the assignment.
Hello, my name is Mr. Quick. I would like to welcome you. Yes, I would like to welcome you to Mr. Quick's video lesson. Today we're going to talk about something pretty light, something pretty easy, something that you should definitely already know about. Today we're going to talk about adjectives and adverbs. Yes, this should not be something that you don't already know about, and because although this is a really easy subject, knowing the rules with adjectives and adverbs is very important to sentence structure, and this is why I want to take some time out to go over them. Okay, first of all, let's start with adjectives here. And adjectives, of course, we know modify nouns. If this is the first time you're hearing about or seeing the word adjective, I encourage you to look at the video called The Parts of Speech. It's in the grammar section. It's the first video because this is the basis of the English language. So in order to understand everything that's going to come after that as far as sentence structure, you have to have an understanding or at least be familiar with the 8 parts of speech. Okay. They also modify pronouns. And in modifying pronouns, we need to really understand why and what that's about. Okay, what is an adjective? And this is a very easy definition. You might want to put this in your notes somewhere. It tells what kind of person, place, or thing. It tells what kind of person, place, or thing. Because when you just mention a person, place, or thing in your sentence, you know, to add more depth or to add or make your sentence more interesting, you want to give some type of specific detail about that particular thing. And using adjectives does that. A noun or a pronoun is, it tells you what a noun or a pronoun is. It may also point out which one or how many of that particular thing that you are talking about. Adjective examples here. So let's take a look. The ship was an English vessel. English vessel. Of course, you could have written the ship was a vessel, but that really didn't tell the reader anything. If you want to add some details to that, then you add adjectives. So in this case, we added English vessel. So we know that this vessel possibly comes from England. Yes. This factory is mine. And of course, this is telling us which one. Say, for instance, you're walking down the street and you own factories and you want to tell the person that you're walking with which factory is yours, you would point and say, this factory is mine. Yes. Or if you were in the factory and you wanted the person to know that you owned it, you would say, this factory is mine. But it tells which one, and it is an adjective here. Many people enjoy the annual dinner. And of course, we have 2 adjectives in this sentence. The first one is telling us how many, meaning a lot of people. Many people enjoy the annual dinner. And of course, you could have said people enjoy the dinner, but to add more detail to help your reader understand what's really going on, you added many to tell us how many people. And you also added annual to let the person know that this is a dinner that takes place every year, the annual dinner. And of course, it tells us which one. So we're not talking about an awards dinner or graduation dinner. We're talking about an annual dinner, and you know, whatever the occasion is, but it's letting the person know that that dinner takes place every year. Okay. Let's talk about articles, because articles also function as adjectives. So let's talk about them. The most commonly used adjectives are the articles, a, and the. And if you don't already know the articles, of course, get this in your notes, but you really should take a little time to go through the video, the 8 parts of speech, because actually some say there are 9 parts of speech, and in that I discussed that 9th part of speech, and it's called the determiners, and articles are part of that group. A and an are called indefinite articles. They refer to someone or something in general. Yes. Use a, of course, before a word beginning with a consonant, and before a word beginning in a vowel. Yes. For instance, a train ride can be an enjoyable experience. So here we added the article a to tell us that in a general way that train rides can be an enjoyable experience. And of course this is very important here, simply because the a lets us know that we're talking about train rides in general, and we're not talking about a specific train. Yes. The is a definite article. It points out one specific person, place, thing, or idea. And it's very different than the a and a. The is a definite article. It points out one specific person, place, thing, or idea. And of course it's very different than the a, because as opposed to the a, we're talking about something in general, the is talking about something very specific. And let's look at an example of that. The train arrives in 10 minutes. Now we're not talking about trains in general here. We're talking about a specific train. So in this case you would use the to let the reader know that, or the person you're talking to know, that you're talking about a specific train. Yes. Proper adjectives. Proper adjectives. You have proper adjectives just like you have proper nouns. Many adjectives are formed from common nouns, of course, such as windy from wind. But there are some adjectives called proper adjectives that are formed from proper nouns. Proper adjectives are always capitalized, and that is a good capitalization rule that you can submit to your memory, that proper adjectives are always capitalized. Okay. Some nouns and pronouns may work as adjectives. In other words, they may modify or describe other nouns. And this is very important here, because we have to understand that some words can be used as adjectives that aren't adjectives. And in this case, we're talking about nouns and pronouns. Let's look at an example of these. Pronouns that can be used as adjectives are this, that, these, those. They are called I'm sorry. They are called demonstrative. Yeah, I know they are called demonstrative pronouns. Yes, and they can be used as adjectives. Some other pronouns that can be used as adjectives are called possessive pronouns, and they are my, our, your, his, her, its, and their. And of course, they can be used as adjectives also. We can also use indefinite pronouns, such as all, each, both, few, most, and some, and they can be used as adjectives. Let's look at some examples. Here's an example of a demonstrative pronoun being used as an adjective. These statues are lifelike. These. And we're talking about, of course, if I tell you a good place or a good time that you can see this actually in use using demonstrative pronouns is when you go to buy something and the salesman is telling you about the product, and he's using these and that and those. This is called demonstrative pronouns. In this case, of course, we're talking about these statues. We're not just talking about statues in general. We're talking about these statues. So it is demonstrating for the reader that we're discussing a particular group of statues here. Possessive pronoun. Yes, The emperor is guarded by his soldiers. And of course, possessive pronouns show us possession or ownership. And of course, the emperor has soldiers. So if you wanted to explain how the emperor is protected, you would say he's protected by his soldiers, not the soldiers or a soldier, or, and you want to be, if you want to be more specific and you want the reader to know you're talking about his possession, then you would use his soldiers here. Indefinite pronouns. Many stories were told about the strange army, and in this case we're talking about how many stories, and here we're talking about many, meaning a lot, whole lot of stories. Nouns is adjectives. Some nouns function, of course, as adjectives. Yes. Having a little problem, a little clicker here. The tomb was filled with jade jewelry, and the word jade in itself is a noun, but it is being used to describe the type of jewelry that is being that in this sentence, the type of jewelry. With jewelry, we're talking about jade jewelry. We're not just talking about any type of jewelry, a specific type, jade, and we use this noun as an adjective to describe jewelry. Well, as you can see, the use of nouns and pronouns as adjectives is very simple, but you know, there's still some information that this is definitely some information that you need to know or that can be useful. Now let's talk about the adverb, and we're gonna pause here.
Tell you what, a person who believes that this wasn't set up by our own government is an idiot.